Hey everyone, welcome to another Webflow workshop. I'm your host Nelson. Thank you for joining me for episode 135. That's a lot of numbers, three of them actually. And at the end of each quarter, we do a stream with our CEO, Vlad Magdalin, and he answers your questions about the history, the present, or the future of Webflow live. So if you're in the Crowdcast chat room right now, please click on the Ask a Question button at the or link at the very bottom of the page and put your question there. If your question is similar to other people's questions that already been submitted, please upvote that instead of asking your similar question. That way we can get as many questions as possible answered. Um, yeah, this if you're new here to these streams happen every other Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, and we usually stream stuff about how to use Webflow to do some advanced techniques or do some beginner techniques, and it's all just fun for the community, and we all just enjoy Webflow together. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get Vlad in the room. Hi, Vlad.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Good, good. Woo, 2018 is in the books. Dude,
Almost, almost.
almost. Oh yeah, yeah. Just finish up this week, right?
Just 2 more months left.
Yes. Yeah. Wait, 2 more months?
I'm still on the Russian calendar, so
Oh,
yeah, we're
okay.
we're we're overachievers.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Was it 14 months in a year? Oh man. Okay. All right. So, yeah, again, if you have any questions, please start asking them right now and we're just going to quick fire. But before we get into your questions, let's talk about what Webflow has accomplished for this past quarter 4 of 2018. Let me see if I can put it on the screen real quick. Let's
By the way,
go.
Nelson, I have to say before we get into the questions, you like totally upstaged me with the sweater game that's happening today. Can I take a break and go change? Just like find a
If you want, do you have something in the office?
No, I'm sure I could come up with something that's a little better than me, like totally blending into this wall here.
Okay. All right. Uh, so let's go ahead and let me see here. Right there. Okay. So right now I'm looking at the screen for what we have built in the beginning of this quarter. CSS Grid. That was a big one.
Pretty awesome.
That was pretty awesome. Like, what were your thoughts when this was first coming out?
Well, CSS Grid is definitely one of those things that reflects our original vision for Webflow, where there's a lot more direct manipulation, like you're actually designing on the canvas,
Yeah.
more so than sort of like going to a code editor or going even on the sidebar. So watching CSS Grid come out was really inspiring, even for me, working at Webflow for 6 years now, and seeing something that's so centered on direct manipulation. It feels like so much more like a design tool rather than like a builder implementation tool. And that was like the first major feature, more so than Flexbox even,
Yeah.
that gave us this idea of like you could get even closer to building for production in like a really direct manipulation kind of way. And we still have a ton of other extensions to CSS Grid that are coming,
Oh, nice.
autoflow and grid areas that are coming next year that are going to take it to the next level. So seeing Grid come out was definitely one of those times where the light bulb kind of goes on, like, hey, this is actually what we set out to build from day one.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
and it's really exciting to see that kind of that come to fruition, even though it took quite a bit of time to get here.
Oh man.
We had to wait for browsers to catch up. We had to wait for our own tools to be ready. So it was really awesome to see it go live.
Nice, nice. For me, Grid was like it was a very different way of building for the web. Like direct manipulation, yes, and it felt like it opened a lot of doors. But then I was like, man, I feel like I need to learn a lot more because it's so different. I felt like I wasn't using Grid correctly, and so it's just I guess it's a lot of learning, a lot of new learning to do. Yeah,
That's I think that's the same with any new technology, right?
it's
Even if
true.
you were going to pick up something that's been around for a long time, like InDesign for print design, it's going to take you a while to figure out how to kind of think about those constraints, think about the limitations and advantages of print design. And grid is one of those like foundational features for a layout in a browser. And now, not just in a browser, like browsers are embedded pretty much anywhere with like
Yeah.
progressive web apps. You might be using a browser that's running an app on your phone that feels like an app, but it's actually using technologies like CSS Grid and Flexbox under the hood. So yeah, everything meaningful usually comes with a learning curve.
Yeah.
But I think with Grid, especially after the next couple improvements like autoflow, it's going to come closer and closer to where you have to worry a lot more about the structure and actual layout that you want to achieve versus the like really technical nature of it, like you kind of have to worry about with Flexbox.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Another thing we came out with this quarter, you put on the screen. Whoops. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where are you? There it is. Okay. Right here. Export CMS content as CSV. So a lot of people have been asking for a way to export their collection data, and we finally built it. So congrats to the team on that one. That one's another big one to me.
Yeah, that one's I think we had a lot of kind of skeptics or pessimists that said, Webflow's never gonna, export CMS because it's not in their business interests or whatever.
Yeah.
But for us, it's really important to make sure people have control of their data, of their designs. And it really makes things a lot easier if you're like processing that data somewhere else and bringing it back, which we've seen more and more of. So this feature is actually used more by long-term users of Webflow rather than like taking the data, even though you can, and porting it to other platforms.
Yeah.
So it's we definitely built it when everything was ready because we were kind of building on top of the CMS. Then we built import. Then we like really re-architected how our collections work, and then we were ready to make that next jump. And a big part of that was like all the changes we were making to make e-commerce possible. And this workflow is really important for e-commerce because you have to, especially in the early days, you have to like export your products, go process them somewhere else, or using a different tool, and then get them back in to update your store, etc. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. What else did we? Oh yeah, this just a little feature I guess we came out with this quarter. Um, something called e-commerce. I think that's how you say it.
oh, I didn't know we were working on that.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a thing.
Is that like, I don't know, like buying stuff online or what?
I think so, but I guess the team worked on it for quite a while, and we just said, okay, everyone can use it.
Yeah, no, I mean, all jokes aside, that was a major initiative for us. I think the last huge feature that we worked on that was even remotely close to this scope was the CMS, and that was back in late 2015 or something like that. Um, so getting e-commerce out there right now, it's in private beta, sorry, in public beta, but still in beta, where anybody can use it. And people are already like creating entire stores, taking orders, like running their e-commerce experiences. It's been really great to get that out there, and we're prepping for a full blown kind of come out of beta launch in the early part of next year, which is really super exciting. And it's finally like getting to the degree where Webflow can be like the single place where you can work on all of your web projects. And e-commerce was one of those major missing pieces. We still have a few that are missing, like multi-language and a couple other major use cases, but e-commerce was by far the one that was requested the most. Like we saw it in our support channels, we saw it in our wish list, we saw it actually from day one when we first launched Webflow as like a single page responsive design builder before we even had like things like nav bars.
Uh huh.
Uh, People have been asking, how do I actually take this incredible design tool and be able to sell stuff
Yeah.
or process subscriptions or whatever. So it's
Wow.
really exciting to start getting that into market. And we have a ton of improvements to make. I mean, there's not a shortage of e-commerce solutions out there.
Yeah.
What makes ours so different is that, to make something super custom, you don't have to learn a templating language or HTML or CSS. You just like design visually, and you have complete control over what like checkout and the cart look like. So it's really exciting to see the kind of things people are creating that they weren't able to do before because they didn't
Yeah.
know how to code. So yeah, that's I think e-commerce is going to be one of the biggest parts of our product going into 2019 and definitely into 2020. Um, I think we're going to have more and more like bigger and bigger companies build on top of platform because now it's more complete.
Yeah.
So super
Yeah.
exciting to see
Yeah.
to see where that goes.
More complete, and it's just amazing. Again, what you said about CSS Grid, direct manipulation, and having direct
Yeah,
manipulation over the look of your e-commerce site, from cart widget to cart button to checkout and order completion. It's everything. And so I mean, you can even do like make your modal spin whenever someone adds something to a cart, and you open up the cart widget and it goes like something like Batman. I don't know. Like the fact that you can add interactions to it is just nuts. It's
right.
nuts. So
I would say it's, I don't know, the jury's still out on whether you should make your modal spin when you add a product, but at least you have that control now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. And another small thing, but it could be a huge thing, is that we've opened up the platform a little bit more for Firefox users. So we're gathering data for that. And so
Yep.
Firefox users rejoice.
Yeah, I think that has been one of those things where when we first launched on Hacker News in 2013, that was one of the first questions, like, why doesn't this work on Firefox? And even from that first day, we're like, oh, we're looking into it, and every time we went in to try to engineer around some of the limitations of Firefox, whether it was scroll bars, some other API that was missing, it was always kind of too far out of reach. But finally, we got to the point where a lot of people on our team used Firefox, and it became like we naturally started using it internally at first, and then started to open it up more and more to um, other folks, and now just recently we made it possible for anybody to use Firefox,
Nice.
and and that's kind of it's weird because Firefox is I think it's good timing because Firefox is now the main competing engine or browser to Chrome and
Ooh.
Chromium and WebKit, especially now that Edge, which was like the third big contender, decided to switch to Chromium as well.
Yeah.
Uh, so, which is kind of a good thing for web developers because it just means fewer variables to test on, and it means like you have a more consistent experience. But I think it's important for there to be some sort of competition among browser engines, just so there's some incentive for both of them to improve.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll see where that takes us.
Cool. Um, just taking this question real quick since it's relevant. Are we making Webflow available for Netscape anytime soon?
That's a good question. I think it's coming after Mosaic support. Um, yeah,
Good question, Marius.
we'll get it working on what's the Nintendo Wii browser first.
Oh God.
You can like point and
Yeah. All right. And last one, product update to talk about, and it just came out today. Pagination, finally. Yes, congrats to Kyle and the team for releasing that today. That I didn't think it was gonna come out actually today. I thought we were gonna wait until like Thursday or Friday or something like that. But man, finally, and all it is just one checkbox. That's amazing.
Yep. And there's going to be a lot more improvements to it. Like we're going to be doing page counts and eventually page numbers, et cetera. But at least now you have kind of this control over many, let's say you have blog posts or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever other data that you're paginating. And we built it in a pretty flexible way that you can have like multiple lists on the same page, which
Ooh.
is a bit more future proof. and support for some other things that are paginated is coming soon, like search result pages.
Oh,
And we're
nice.
hoping that this is the reason it took so long is because we're building it in a way that helps support other future paginatable things like CMS galleries. So things like linked to new field types that we're going to be creating, like image set, etc., that need to be paginated. And potentially even in the future, like paginated sliders, etc. So
Yeah.
there's uh there's going to be a lot of other things that use the same foundations for
Yeah.
of pagination.
Yeah, and this is great now that e-commerce is out. We can paginate stuff kind of like how Amazon does on that one page. So that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, and so with all these product updates, for this whole year of 2018, what are you most proud of?
Hmm.
Tough question.
Honestly, I mean, this has been a great year of product improvements. I think what I'm personally most proud of is what we were able to do as a team, in how we grew as a team, because I think we added close to 40 people over the last
Yeah,
12 months. And we had this amazing team retreat in Portugal in August, where we sort of reaffirmed our mission. And we actually created a secondary mission that is there to support our team. So we've always had this kind of like grander product vision of empowering everyone to create software, starting with websites, but eventually moving on to apps without having to learn how to code.
yeah,
But then in August, we introduced this secondary mission where we want to create the type of company where our teammates can live fulfilling and impactful lives, which is a really like it's actually a harder mission because there's so many people on the team with so many career goals and like the things that they're passionate about, and building the kind of company where people can feel supported, like they're working on things that are super impactful and meaningful in other people's lives, and doing that in a way where they can grow in their skills and their careers, and feel like they have a lot of autonomy in that. Being able to talk about that as a team and kind of introducing some principles and some guidelines on how we're going to scale from 40 to 80 to to double that maybe next year, who knows.
yeah,
uh, I think I'm personally the most proud of that because right now, building Webflow, the company, is as important, if not more so, than building Webflow, the product, because Webflow, the product, is is like the product of all these wonderful people
yeah,
that work on it every day and pour their hearts and souls and minds into it. So that to me is the thing I'm most proud of, and the thing that encouraged me the most, that we can actually meet our bigger mission
yeah,
of empowering people to create software without code. So
yeah.
I think that is, maybe before August, I was a bit more freaked out about like, hey, is this thing going to actually scale? Is it going to be, at some point, does it fall apart when you can't remember everyone's names? Um, but yeah, that was I think the highlight for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I agree. It's like it's growing, and you want to make sure that the company environment
Yeah.
is still it's still awesome. And yeah, congrats to you, the co-founders, and everyone else on the team for continually cultivating that atmosphere, because when a product's passion starts from the inside going out to the community, it shows. And it's just to me, it's a feedback loop from the community who wants to show that passion back to us. And it's so awesome, so awesome. All right, so let's get on to the community questions. And again, if you're in the YouTube chat room, please go to the Crowdcast link. If a moderator can please, Peter or someone can please put the Crowdcast link into the YouTube chat room, please do so. Thank you. In the Crowdcast link, there's a Ask a Question link at the bottom. Click on that, upvote a question that is similar to yours, and if there's none, go ahead and submit yours. All right, let's do this. Going top to bottom, I'm not going to skip any, so let's go. With 8 votes from Wadud. Question for the live Q&A. When can we expect a member login area that will have a dashboard where users can see their order history, account settings, edit their profile, etc. ETA on variations. Wow, many questions. Can you make web applications Webflow, kind of like Bubble? Can we integrate Bubble with Webflow? Wow, that's 4 questions in 1. Okay, pick one.
Yeah, that's a lot of
Or
questions.
all.
I'll just like rapid fire.
Yeah.
I guess. So variants, we're working on getting them ready before public launch. So they're already being tested. A lot of it is already built out. So that's coming soon. Member login area, that's definitely something we're talking actively about, especially starting with e-commerce, where you can log in, kind of see your orders and order history. That will serve as the foundation for a lot more kind of member-oriented apps in the future, but yeah, we don't know exactly when that's coming. We haven't looked at any sort of integrations with Bubble, just because we don't know if there's compatibility between the two platforms. But we certainly see kind of there's a lot of things that we do tangentially that are very similar. So I guess we'll see. There's a lot of things that Webflow does. That is not quite the same way that Bubble does it, and I think that's because of our focus on like really highly professional layouts and um, like standard box model type of layouts, which makes it a little bit harder than sort of dragging and dropping in Bubble. But um, we'll see where that takes us. But yes, we are considering member login areas. We think that's very important for e-commerce experiences, especially, and variants are coming.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
but the delivery dates might vary.
As always.
Yeah, sorry, I had to start with the dad jokes at some point.
All right. All right. I'll count that as one.
All right,
All right.
all right. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I might not be on top of my uh, dad joke game.
Oh.
Actually, I had a dream that I was a muffler, which is why I woke up really exhausted.
Okay. Hold on real quick. Hold on. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the next question. It's from Noah with 7 upvotes. It's let's see here. When will we when will we get actual nested collections? Ooh, this is a big one. I know we can reference collections, but being able to add different collections inside of other collection lists is so powerful.
Yep.
Just one simple example would be having dedicated photo galleries collection that will link to other collections. I hope this makes sense. Currently, you can't reference a collection that will keep updating by the client.
So there's a couple ways to address that. One is we really want to make nested collections happen, but when you do that, it opens up a lot of technical complexity, because now a list with 100 items and then 10 lists with 100 items, just by adding one nest in there, can like cause the page to render 100 times slower, because it has to do like what's called an inner join, and you have to pull more data. So there's a bunch of performance issues that you really have to worry about. So right now we're being very careful, because once you release something with certain limitations, it's very hard to like reduce those limitations without breaking sites.
Yeah.
So that's I think we'll have nested collections when it's ready. But that particular use case we're actually working on separately, where collections will soon, and I don't know exactly how soon, but it's one of our top priorities. Collections will have a new field type called an image set, where instead of an image, we're creating a second collection that says like image, that's part of like some gallery or whatever. A collection might have, instead of an image field, an image set field, and then you'll be able to bind that image set to either a like a lightbox, or a new type of block, or a new type of component we call a CMS gallery,
Mm-hmm.
where that source will come from the CMS, and clients will be able to log into the editor and edit just that collection. So when that collection is changed, along with each image's sort of like alt text or caption or whatever, it'll get rendered in the gallery.
Yeah.
So that way you don't have to do that kind of like, I don't know, multi-collection setup, and then have to nest another collection list inside of a collection list just to
Yeah.
go through images. So
Yeah.
hopefully that gets us closer to that use case.
Yep. Stepping stones. We'll get there. We'll get there. Thanks for the question, Noah. All right. Next one from Matthew with 5 upvotes. 2018 was a big year for Webflow features. In a year from now, how do you think 2019 will be remembered? Or stated differently, what are the major milestones ahead?
Ooh, I never know how to answer these questions.
I know, like, do you know the future? What does the
Yeah,
future hold?
yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, we have a lot planned for 2019. A lot of it I can't necessarily talk about. Um, but we hope to have a much better story around multi-language. We're definitely going to be improving our CMS and e-commerce capabilities. There's a ton that's coming in e-commerce, like multi, like different payment options, more countries, more. I already mentioned variants. Apple Pay, Android Pay, etc. There's a lot of stuff in that bucket. Um, then we have something big coming around components that hopefully we'll be teasing a lot more in the near future. But that's all I'll say about that, and that's going to be a major focus in 2019. And then I know I keep mentioning this in the last couple streams, but we're working really hard behind the scenes on a plugin ecosystem. Uh,
Ah. Oh, I thought
and
that's what you were teasing just right now, but no, oh, so that's a
no, no,
different.
no, no. Components. So think of components as like symbols that are way more powerful. So
Okay.
so imagine let's say you had actually, you know what? We'll
Yeah.
cover that in a
The
future.
next Q and
Yeah,
A. The
yeah.
next Q and A. All right. But user components. That's huge. The whole plugin ecosystem.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we've been talking about this for a while in a couple of different streams, and we're still working on it.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that's going to be a huge one
It
because
is. It's a major technical problem, especially since initially we didn't necessarily build Webflow to be modular, or pluggable, and but now we're making major changes to make sure that that stays the case, and we have to do it in a way that doesn't break any sites.
yeah,
Uh, so that's a um, an interesting challenge that involves a lot of creative solutions.
yeah, yeah. Every time we're adding new features, that must be super scary for the engineers to be like, okay, it's nice and shiny, but what about all the legacy, all the past websites that are built on Webflow? Are
Mhm.
they going to be okay? And so, I mean, wow, major props to the team for.
And that's one thing that we take major pride in. Like if you run I used to run Webflow as an agency with just Sergi and I, where we made a bunch of WordPress sites and a bunch of Joomla sites, and it was a huge pain point every time there was like a theme upgrade or a WordPress upgrade or some sort of like security hole or whatever. We would have to go in and figure out what the code changes are. Like there was a bunch of custom development when these things broke. And for us, it just should be just like set it and forget it. You publish your
Yeah,
site, even if you did it in like 2014, it's going to keep working.
yeah,
Of course, there are times where like we fall short of that and something unexpected happens and we go back and fix it. Um, but our goal is that it's just like Webflow is a web design platform where you're not worried about how is the code or whatever is powering things in the back end. How's it working? Like it can change behind the scenes as long as the functionality for you doesn't change,
yeah.
and that's really important for us.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Matthew, for the question. All right, going to Chris. 3 upvotes. Amazon just recently released Amazon Personalized. I don't know what this is. Will you guys integrate Amazon Personalized with Webflow e-commerce?
Honestly, I haven't heard of it either. So, what's Amazon?
Really?
Great trees, from what I heard, in a nice river.
All
It's a,
right.
it's a rainforest joke. It's pretty lame.
Yeah. Yeah. I got it. I got it. All right. So, yeah, Chris, we'll get back to you on that after we research it. But yeah, that's seems interesting. Let's go with I don't know how to say it's Johnny, I think. Um, two upvotes. Nelson, please ask Vlad about collections and nested collections. Oh, okay. We've already asked that. So because he said, remember I wrote in the group. What about getting data from higher levels in the relations, not only the parent? Also, how will nested collection work?
Yeah, I think I defer to Kyle in the chat. Like he already mentioned some things about collection lists, nested collection lists.
Hmm.
There's a ton of complexity with nested collection lists. Like there's something called dynamic context. You know, when you're designing the collection page for a blog post,
Yeah.
you have to worry about like what is the current blog post, and a lot of things go off of that, like conditional visibility and how you bind to elements. And then you sort of take that to the next level inside of a collection list. Um, and then when that collection list is inside of a detail page item, which is, repeating things that are that detail page or collection pages item
I'm
ref.
lost.
Exactly. Like there's so many things you have to worry about. And then when you make that nestable, that complexity just goes like
Yeah.
through the roof. So even though it seems like it's something pretty straightforward, like, all right, well, you have lists and you have lists here, and you just like put lists inside of lists. It's actually a pretty highly technical and hard technical problem. So we only want to make sure that we release it when we feel very confident that it's going to scale. And then that it's going to be very intuitive in how people use it, which is not the most encouraging answer because you probably want to hear like when is it going to be
Yeah.
available. But that's how software works.
Yep. All right. Thank you for the question. All right. From Keys, three upvotes. Is there going to be a CMS Lightbox / gallery feature? Oh, we already answered this, and the answer is yes. Yeah, let's go. Okay, we're going to Riley with one upvote. Big markets have begun to have the Webflow influence, e.g., marketing sites, blogs, e-commerce. What is another market that you hope Webflow will crowd into soon?
I mean, we still have, if you look at compare Webflow to WordPress in marketing sites, blogs, and e-commerce,
Yeah.
or to Shopify, we're like, the tiniest of ants. I mean, the cool thing about ants is that they can carry like 100 times their body weight or whatever that stat is.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot in those areas, but there's still so much we need to do to catch up to have the kind of influence that's being implied here. Like to us, it seems like we're kind of small fries compared to all this stuff.
Yeah.
Where it makes a lot more sense to really focus on marketing sites and blogs and e-commerce, to really nail down a lot of those use cases, things that real designers need to do for their clients and real businesses need before we jump into like create the next Airbnb or the next Twitter or something like that requires a lot more technical complexity in building an entire app.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll get there. And there's all these ideas around like Webflow becoming like a component builder where it's exporting React and Angular or whatever. So there's many different ideas of where Webflow could go because partial sets of our tools can be applied in that direction. But what we really obsess over here is putting our main customers first and making sure that we are solving the problems that they have today, versus kind of there's always opportunities to go explore these kind of offshoots, and we're always doing that. But I think we have to stay close to our core mission of empowering more people to build stuff if they don't know how to code or if they're sort of past they've graduated, like they've seen the light of really developing where it goes so much faster.
Yeah. All right. Okay, next one. Why do it again? If we create a website with CMS on our account and transfer it to a client who has their own account, besides having CMS hosting, do they need to have an account? This seems like a support question. Do they need to have an account plan to be a collaborator, or is the free plan sufficient since they are paying for CMS hosting? Yeah. I guess I'll
Yeah,
answer
it's
it.
hosting
Yeah.
requires a hosting plan or a site plan.
Hmm.
And I think, you don't have to double pay for that. So whoever is the owner of that custom domain hosting plan can pick that up. I don't know if I'm reading the question correctly.
I think he's trying to transfer the site. It's like, let me scroll down. Yeah, so he wants to transfer the site to his client's own Webflow account, and then yeah, if the client already has a Webflow account, then all they would need to do is add a CMS hosting, and then they'll have full permission to edit within the designer or even the editor. If they want to add like a content collaborator, they can do that in the settings panel. But yeah, for more information, university.webflow.com. Search there for editor, invite editors or something like that. You'll get more information on how to do that. But yeah, Riley with 5 upvotes. What is the most challenging feature that was released this year, and what were some key lessons learned? Oh, Riley with the good questions.
Whew. I mean, e-commerce is
Yeah, I was gonna
by far
guess
the
that.
most challenging, because it involves so many moving parts. It's tightly integrated to our CMS. It's got a ton of different facets to it, like variants and item management, inventory management, shipping, tax calculation, like actual live dynamic calculations on the page, which is a first for us. Before we would have things that are not dependent on the server, like a nav bar, where it has some JavaScript on the site, and you can sort of like make some animations or whatever. But e-commerce was the first major component that required going to the server, keeping kind of information about your order or your cart. So that was for sure the most challenging. I think the biggest lesson we learned from that was learning how, as a team, to focus on smaller bits of incremental value versus just saying, okay, here's like a huge version one, and we need to have every single feature that we think we need to compete with other e-commerce platforms, and trying to reduce it to the base, kind of like the base minimal functionality that we then can improve on. So you can see that with a lot of things that we left out, honestly, with the first private beta of e-commerce that went then to public beta. Like variants are missing. There's a lot of things missing, like PayPal's missing, Apple Pay's missing, etc. And that was a step in that direction of shipping more things that some people might need. Maybe for many people, Webflow might not have everything that they need to start a store, but for many, we do. So, like one other example of that is pagination, where there's so many different directions you can do with pagination. But we chose to launch a smaller iteration first, and give some of that functionality. That way, while we build out the next part, people who can are okay with what we have now can actually benefit from it without waiting for like the perfect version.
Yeah, yeah,
So I guess it was like the biggest lesson there is, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good, because when you try to be so perfect, it just takes such a long time, and you're always adding scope at the end because you realize, oh, like what if we had this, or this breaks down with this, or like now we have so much complexity, um, and then it kind of snowballs from there.
yeah.
So I think that was a big thing for us. And now we're switching all of our teams to work in that like more incremental approach where we're shipping something like on a weekly or biweekly basis.
Nice.
Um, and that way you can like people can play with it and they can give you feedback, even if it's behind a shortcut key or whatever.
Yeah.
But it avoids these huge year-long projects. So.
Huh. All right. Thank you, Riley. All right. Yorn, asking about multi-language status on that.
Still doing a bunch of research. A lot depends on kind of some of our underlying efforts to make the plugin ecosystem happen, because multi-language relies a lot on the plugin ecosystem. So there's like technical discovery and product discovery going on there, but we don't have any timelines or estimates on when it's actually going to go live.
Yeah. Software is tricky. Um, why do it again? Can you discuss accelerated mobile pages in Webflow?
Honestly, we think that we can make pages pretty dang fast without AMP. And there have been a lot of documented drawbacks to accelerated mobile pages, where there's just not consensus of whether it's a good idea for the web,
Yeah.
because it puts so many of kind of the keys for serving content into Google's hands. And for us, it's even, I think at some point we, depending on how AMP matures, we might just have to make that an option. But right now, it seems to be like a very contentious type of technology that we want to see play out before making a decision.
Hmm.
I think we're a lot more likely to work on open web technologies such as progressive web apps, like service workers, and adding other ways of accelerating pages, like our responsive images feature, adding that to background images and more functionality. Taking other best practices from AMP and actually adding it to regular websites without having to like sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Hmm.
But right now we have no immediate plans internally to implement AMP. I mean, you can always export and convert to some other platform, but there's I think the jury's still out on whether AMP is a good thing for the web or that it's even a good thing for marketing sites. Like there's been multiple anecdotes and research that shows that click-through rates go down, like a
Oh.
bunch of stuff. You lose on many different vectors when your stuff is served by Google, even though it's faster, even though Google is like uh, bumping it in their search results. So you
Yeah.
get views, but fewer, like less engagement.
Hmm.
So that's we have no plans right now to work on AMP.
Right. Right. Makes sense. Chuck, do you know when e-commerce will be going out of beta and if pricing will be increasing?
I don't know, and I don't know. A lot of it is dependent on how our beta goes, and we're constantly getting feedback on pricing. We're seeing how people are setting up stores and how they're reacting to it. So it's still too early to tell. We are shooting to have some sort of general release like in the early part of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's something where giving giving timelines is
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to say soon because I know that word is kind of loaded.
Overused by us
Yeah.
in the future.
In the year 2000, right?
We're past the year 2000.
I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Chuck.
yeah.
All right. From David, e-commerce question: will we be able to change the shipping price according to postal code or distance in a given country? It is a must for restaurants and florists, for example. Um, I
I don't know where that is on the priority kind
mhm,
of order, but I would definitely make sure that that's in our wish list if you need it.
mhm.
Just to like very clearly state the case, because I honestly haven't heard this case. I know there's like weight-based pricing. I have not seen distance-based pricing.
Hmm.
So definitely something you want to get on our wish list and
Yeah.
make a case for it.
Yeah. Wishlist.webflow.com. Thank you, David. Here we go. Skipping this one. What about page pagination? It's live now.
Well, no,
Uh,
I think Dima means when you're on like a detail page on like
oh.
a blog post and it says next blog post. Uh,
Oh.
I'm not sure about that. I know we did quite a bit of research to see how commonly that's used.
Okay.
So I'll defer to our team in the wish list. Like I think if that's something that you need, get a wish list up that describes or maybe links to some examples where it's super helpful. Because blog posts can have the tricky thing with that is you might have a list of featured blog posts on your homepage, for example,
Yeah.
and on the sidebar you might have your most recent blog post, right? Which could be a totally different order. So depending on where you click from one of those blog posts, like hitting next or previous, has different meaning, right? So you have to either kind of choose limited functionality where it's always based on some ordering, like most recent first,
Mm-hmm.
even if you end up there from a different list, Or you might be like on a category detail page or a collection page, and then you click on a blog post. You might expect that when you click next, you're actually seeing posts from the same category or say the same tag.
Oh, yeah.
So the semantics are totally different. So I think this is where it's really important for folks that need these kinds of use cases to put them up on our wish list with as much detail as you can provide, so that our product managers and our team can see exactly what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we might like be translating it in totally different ways.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's see here. From Florian, wondering if there are any plans to support the communication between people creating sites with Webflow and their customers, collect feedback from them. Ooh, kind of like annotations.
Oh yeah, we had this feature designed at some point, and there are some plans to bring more collaboration into Webflow. No news on that yet, um, but that's a great idea. Like that's needed many different times. I know right now people use different platforms. Like they'll actually publish on Webflow.io or on the domain, and then kind of share that link on a different platform that allows annotation or commenting.
Yeah.
Um, but it's definitely something that we do want to add to kind of core Webflow offerings at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be really cool.
Something that we need ourselves actually, because
Yeah.
we use Webflow very um, almost religiously. You would say actually it's by fiat. You kind of have to use Webflow if you're working at Webflow. I mean, all of our marketing sites, all of our stuff is built with Webflow.
Yeah.
But we need it so many times where like, you'll kind of see screenshots in Slack like, hey, can you fix this or whatever. That would be
Yeah.
much more natural if you had a Google Docs like kind of commenting functionality. That's sort of dependent on which screen you're or which breakpoint you're on
Ooh.
or which
Yeah.
device you're on because it could be different feedback.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that should definitely make it into Webflow at some point. I just don't know when.
Okay. All right. All right.
Thank
For what? What happened?
no, no,
Okay. I thought I missed the dad joke right there.
no, no.
No. No. All right. From Nick. For upvotes, are you planning to add collaborative editing in the designer, the way you could work on a site with multiple users simultaneously? Ooh, kind of like Google Docs or something. We have multiple people. Ooh, that would be fun to have.
Yeah, so you can already do that in our CMS. If you're collaborating on content in the editor, then you can have multiple people edit content at the same time, but you have to like only one person can edit one collection item at the same time. When it comes to collaborative editing in the designer is a much harder problem because Webflow has shared style sheets across the entire project. So you might not know that when you're kind of like changing the padding on a class that's used in 20 different pages, that somebody else is changing that at the same time, and it
Ooh.
might kind of like break the dynamic of people kind of understanding what they're changing at any given time. But it's definitely something we call it multiplayer. It's definitely something that we want to add at some point, and we're getting our architecture kind of slowly but surely over to something that will support that model of collaboration,
Mm-hmm.
which will actually become easier with some future features that we'll have in 2019 that you'll see that make that sort of like cross-page class collision problem less of a concern. So that makes it more and more possible to make real time happen. But will kind of the jury's still out
Yeah.
on exactly when that's going to happen and what it's going to look like. But we definitely want something like that because it's really annoying to have to like kick someone out to make some edits, etc.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I think we all the whole community as well as the internal community of Webflow has felt this. And so yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nick, for the question. Donald, support for .webp images. Ooh.
WebP images. Good question. I don't know what the current browser kind of level of support is, but if it's already pretty well covered, I don't know why we wouldn't allow that. It's just like a setting in our app. Although I'm not quite sure how that works with responsive images and whether it
Hmm.
it's the same as like JPEGs and PNGs in terms of compression. I know there are a bunch of advantages to WebP, so definitely something we should look at.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's on our wish list or what demand is like, but I know like from my own, when you're using like Google Docs or something, uh, or I think what's the Keynote, right? I
Yeah.
was using Keynote the other day and I had a WebP image and I couldn't add it onto the canvas, and it was like super annoying. I had to go convert it to a PNG or something just to
Oh,
get it into the tool.
interesting.
But
Hmm.
there must be a reason for it, because like I don't know if IE11 supports it, and we still have to support IE11 for published sites. So there has to be.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure it's a bit more nuanced than just like adding some new
yeah.
form.
Yeah. All right. Right. From Marius, for pagination, can we have the page not to jump at the top when clicking the previous next button? Um. Oh, okay. So when you click on previous next, it just goes refreshes the page and shows the next set of collection items.
Right. Good question. I think that's an enhancement that we'll be making. Um, I'm not quite sure exactly how we'll implement that, because you have to sort of remember the page position between pages.
Yeah.
Um, but good question for Kyle, our main product manager, who's working on that.
Yeah.
I'll follow up with him.
Yeah. All right. All right. All right. With 4 votes, Adriel. What about clients being able to optimize their own photos from within the editor so they aren't uploading big mamma jamma photo files into their CMS? I think that's a new. There's like megabytes, gigabytes, and then big mamma jamma.
Yeah, I like it.
Extra points. We as designers could specify the crop and pixel dimensions depending on which CMS spot the photo is uploaded into. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of clients out there who will take a photo with their camera phone or something, and will just try to drag it into Webflow, and it's glorious 30 meg or 50 meg resolution.
Yeah, that's an interesting request. I think we have the more we move closer and closer to like clients doing content upload, the more we have to think about this stuff. I know we already support responsive images for CMS image fields. So that way, even if you upload like a really massive image, but then you actually end up in a collection list or a detail page, we'll actually auto optimize those images as long as they're inline images. But there's definitely a lot more we can do to like put those tools front and center, or even give the designer control to where they can say, give some guidelines around like not just maximum image size, but if a client is uploading beyond maximum image size, actually taking that photo like as a convenience and auto resizing it to whatever the designer feels
Ooh, that would be
is
nice.
appropriate for that use case. So yeah, that's something to consider on our CMS team.
Yep, yep. I'm always telling people to go to like pick resize or something, or Google it, and then you can just resize it online, and then you have to save it from there, and then you have to upload it into Webflow. So yeah,
Yeah, the issue usually is that people just don't know that they have to resize. So
yeah,
yeah.
yep. All right, cool. Carlton, is there any plans for pseudo selectors like before and after? I think this would give us so much more creative power.
We do have a design for pseudo selectors. It's quite complicated. There's a lot of, nth child, odd even, last child, first child, etc. We're still iterating on it, but it hasn't been like a huge priority just because it hasn't bubbled up that high on the wish list. Um, but I would personally love to have that. It just sort of depends on when it makes it in to our style tab. Right now, we're prepping for a pretty major update to our style panel, um, which introduces some new features like position sticky, but also organizes a bunch of existing features in a much more intuitive way. Um, I think it's already in some like private beta environments.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite sure. I know a lot of the team internally is using it. But that sort of sets the foundation for, because that our previous style tab was built by me actually in 2013,
Oh wow.
like a super long time ago. So it definitely needed some modernization.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that makes it easier for us to work on something like pseudo selectors,
Hmm.
but we hear so many of different, like for example, I think we're more likely to work on calc support, which is, gives a lot more kind of flexibility on how you make like widths and heights depending on the parent container, rather than like more selectors first.
Hmm.
But I'm just kind of guessing at this point,
Yeah.
at which point in time that's going to make it into the style tab.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Um. Oh, here we go. I'm ready for this one. Florian, 3 upvotes. Why does this only have 3? Can you tell your best dad joke, please?
Who, those are things that they just kind of like happen on the spot.
Yeah. Can't really
Um,
request it, but
yeah, I know. And last time, I think on the last stream, I made like 10 puns in a row, thinking that it was going to make
18.
10.
18
Well,
for.
it was like, yeah, 10 in a row. And then I
Oh.
thought it was going to make people laugh. Uh, but no pun intended. Get it? You kind of have to look into that one slowly.
Okay. All
Or have
right.
you heard the one about Microsoft Office?
About who?
About Microsoft Office?
What?
Like whoever stole my copy of Microsoft Office, I will find you. You have my word, but uppercase word. See, these are so bad that I'm just like living up to my promises.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. And I thank you. And I thank you. And to Florian, I thank you for that question. It was a very important question. It needed to be
Oh,
asked.
this is one that my daughter asked me. How many apples grow on a tree?
How many?
All of them.
Okay, that was a good one. That was a good one. How do we give credit to her?
I don't know. Oh, Mariah says you're excelling, Vlad. That's
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I
All
get
right.
it.
Thank you, Florian. All right. Back to business. WebGL.
I'm glad I have this job and not making up dad jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you do it so well though when you're just, off the cuff. Even in the office when I visit, it's just so natural to you.
Yeah. Did I tell you about my job before Webflow?
What?
It was at a calendar factory,
Okay.
but I was fired.
Because
I took a few days off.
okay.
All right, we're done with that section.
Oh, that's all good. Ah, my cheeks. Ow. Okay. Back to business. Shaban is asking, and sorry if I mispronounce your names. Um, WebGL in Webflow Interactions 2. Are you consider anything soon? Ooh, WebGL.
Ooh, I would love to see that. I've seen some crazy WebGL effects on the web, like where you just apply it to an image and sort of like, I don't know, waves in or
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we can apply that in a very similar way to how we did quick effects.
Ooh, huh.
So I don't know. There's a lot of exploration there that we can do. So far, there hasn't been like too many requests for that. Uh,
Yeah,
Definitely one of those sort of like really shiny things that a few sites need, especially your bleeding edge agency sites or something like that. But it's definitely not in that category of like must-haves, like
yeah,
e-commerce,
yeah.
or like multi-language.
But didn't someone in the community do something with After Effects or something with interactions, like body movement, body move in, or something like that?
Yeah, I think that you can take uh, I think it's like JSON or some sort of keyframe descriptors out of After Effects and actually play them on a website. So that's an integration that we sort of like custom hand wrote for our e-commerce landing page, and then somebody else took that to the next level. Um,
Mm.
and I think we're making some changes in our interactions engine to make it more compatible with driving like different types of animation. So
Ooh.
that you can take an animation from somewhere else and use like the same ideas behind interactions 2.0, things like driving an animations playhead based on where your mouse is as a relative position of the page or the scroll position or what
Oh.
element, like the X or Y direction, and then using that as an input to how that animation plays. So there's definitely going to be more and more improvements in that area, because Webflow is definitely like one of the first tools, if not one of the only tools, where the animation is not just like this static thing that you just put into a box, right? It's
Yeah.
actually highly dependent on user interaction, and what people are doing on the page, which you probably have seen on some of the like kind of really, really animation heavy and interaction heavy sites that were created in Webflow.
Hmm. Cool. Cool. All right. Here we go. Um, Wadud is asking. Oh, okay. Waldo already answered it, but he's asking, is there a CSS grid resource like we have for Flexbox, flexbox.webflow.com? And the answer to that is yes. Webflow.com/grid, there is a grid playground where we teach you how to use grid. So yeah, webflow.com/grid. Check it out.
There might
Um,
be a better link for that, because the one that Waldo linked to, it says Grid Playground, is actually embedded in that like landing page.
yeah.
So let me just share this right here. So it's webflow.com/CSS Grid Playground.
Ah, okay.
You can play around with it there. It doesn't have sort of like the whole page with animations that could slow down.
Okay. All right. Thank you. From Mario, what about the new Webflow Designer UI? Wait, we have a new. Is that the styles panel?
Yes, so
Oh,
that is we're prepping it for I mean, I can really say soon. uh because it's already being used out in the wild,
yeah,
but it is definitely a very comprehensive rethink of more efficiently working with styles,
yeah,
while still staying true to kind of how people are used to working in Webflow.
yeah.
So that's coming quite soon.
Yep. All right. The thing that I love about the new styles panel is that the display settings are now in a drop down because when we added grid, it's like 6 buttons in one little row. It's like,
Yeah,
oh my god, everything's getting so smaller. I guess when you built it 5 years ago, you didn't expect 6 buttons to be there. Yeah. So yeah.
that's
All right. From the YouTube chat room, Shaban, WebGL in. Oh, we already answered that. Okay. Um, let's see here. Okay, from Noel saying, will there be any full site e-commerce builds appear in the Webflow University?
Yes, we are working on a very comprehensive one as we speak. There's going to be some sort of like side tutorials for different parts of e-commerce, and then there's going to be a full build from start to finish. And it'll even include things that are outside of Webflow, like how to get, how to collect information from your clients and how to copyright for e-commerce experiences, etc.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Teach sort of like more fundamental principles around working with e-commerce, but the bulk of it will focus on building from start to finish a real store with real products with where you can kind of, if you follow through with it, you'll know exactly how to build an e-commerce store.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. All right. Um, Sahala?
Suhaila.
Sorry, Sahala. Okay, I got it. Oh, you know her. She says, "What's the next big challenge for Webflow, either with the product or team?"
I mean, I think the biggest challenge we have is with this, getting everything ready to um, be pluggable or modular, which is a major, major technical challenge.
Yeah.
Um, Outside of all of the other product initiatives that we're already working on, like more pagination stuff, more CSS grid stuff, more e-commerce, more CMS improvements, etc. I think the biggest challenge for Webflow, the team, is keeping staying true to what we have now. We have an amazing team. We have an amazing mission. We're having fun building what we're building, and we're doing it in a kind and sort of, I don't want to say like it's a family, but it definitely feels like we all care for each other. And how do you scale that to um, you know more than 100 people, more than 150 people, more than 200 people? Like there's a reason behind the bigger the company gets, stuff tends to fall apart. So that's a big challenge for me personally. Like that's my main job, is to make sure that the kind of culture, the kind of like attention to detail, how much we care about our customers, and like the level of um, quality in our products, the level of quality in our education, the level of quality of our marketing, our focus on speed and bringing things to market faster. And that is in doing all that in a way where team members can all like live fulfilling and impactful lives without like getting burnt out or like wanting to go somewhere else. That's a hard problem to solve.
Yeah.
So I think we're on our way of solving it. Like I think I shared a couple weeks ago that just in like more than the last 2 years, we haven't had anybody leave the team,
Oh,
even though the industry average is like 15% of uh, uh, an average tech company
yeah.
per year people take off.
Yeah.
I think we must be doing some things right. I know there's a lot of areas where we can still improve, but that is definitely the biggest challenge of how do you kind of scale this, especially past, there's this number called Dunbar's number, like which is 150, where past 150, you like humans just aren't able to keep that many close relationships or even remember people's names.
Yeah.
Uh, so when the company is beyond 150 people, like it's going to feel like a different. There's going to be a different challenges and different parts of things that work now that might not work. So
Yeah.
that's pretty challenging to think about how we're going to approach that. But we have an amazing team that I fully confident can like lean into that and make sure that our future is a great one. It's just not going to be a walk in the park, I don't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it'll take the whole company
yeah,
to continue this culture,
yep,
And the past retreat, like you said, we started a secondary mission, and it was all about culture. And that's nice to hear that we have two missions now, one for the external community and internal community. So. Fully confident that this team can do it, and thank you so much for
if it doesn't work, we'll just keep adding missions.
Okay, that mission didn't work. How about mission 2B and then 2C? We'll iterate till it's right.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
You
How do you
can't
say it
spell
again?
mission without miss.
Wait, what?
You can never mind.
Oh, I got it. Hold on. Okay, cool. All right. Um, Thank you so much to Sahalia. Oh my god, I messed it up.
Yeah.
Sahala. Thank you.
I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Now I might be butchering it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. All right. Yeah, let's keep going. You good for another round of questions? It's already 11. You
Sure.
good?
I have the next 17 hours free just in case.
We just 17?
Yeah, just 17,
Okay.
sorry.
All right. Cool. I think we can do this. All right, here we go. From Eric, what challenges or surprises have you encountered growing a company with a distributed workforce? Surprise benefits slash advantages to remote work. Ooh.
Well, we actually, I want to say lucked into, or we didn't intentionally set out to build a remote company at first. We kind of thought the three of us were in Mountain View, which is close to here to San Francisco, and the three co-founders, I mean. And then the first person that we hired, we thought that it was the person that we could kind of because Bay Area salaries were like really really high, and we hadn't gotten funding yet to where we felt confident in like hiring kind of from this area where competition is really, really high. We thought that we would hire remotely, and then we were fully convinced that anybody we hire remotely will convince them to move to San Francisco later. And then we hired like the next few people that way, and they ended up being like progressively further away. So it was like Sacramento, then Denver, then Finland, then Moscow. And then it became pretty apparent that nobody was probably going to move because people have families, people have homes and other lives. Their spouses have jobs and friends, and it's like a huge commitment to like pick up and go somewhere. But then a bunch of kind of these advantages started popping up. When you would imagine, how do you work on a design tool without a whiteboard in the background with like two designers sort of like sketching out ideas? You actually start to realize other types of efficiencies where a designer that's pretty far away, that is multiple time zones removed, that can't necessarily like ideate at the same time, is actually has to create an artifact, like screenshots or a paper, like Dropbox paper document or a Google Doc document with a bunch of screenshots and details, that forces a lot more thought and a lot more details to get on the page. And then that thing can be shared with everyone, not just the person in the room, so that two people have that idea. And then that's a document that you can like iterate on. And then that becomes the spec. That becomes like the thing that engineers refer to. So that has definitely been a huge advantage. Another big advantage has been just like the diversity of ideas and people and like cultures and even like pastimes and food and all the things that come with hiring people all over the world. Like we have people in Portugal and Lebanon, and I mentioned Russia and Finland and South America and Canada, and almost every state at this point in well, not every state, but a lot of states in the U.S. We just had somebody join from Perth, Australia, which is like really far away. So that's always great when people travel to either to San Francisco, or we have our annual retreat. Just seeing how people from across the world can connect on such a personal level is really, really inspiring and encouraging. And we just wouldn't have that inside of this kind of like sometimes what could feel like a monoculture of tech in the Bay Area, where everyone's talking about the same thing or working towards the same thing or even wearing the same thing, and it just kind of starts to feel like we're in our own little bubble. Whereas hiring remotely, you get the best people in the world. Because surprise, surprise, 99% of people, 99.9% of people don't live in San Francisco or the greater Bay Area, Silicon Valley. And many of those, even if they would consider moving, it's like a huge commitment. So you can just find amazing people. And we have some wonderful people working at Webflow that wouldn't be here if we had required non-remote relocation.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Great question. All right. Let's see here. We got about 15 minutes left. Should we just quick fire the rest? Oof, got a lot. All right, here we go. Starting from the top. Jason Green, any idea when to expect CMS grid? Oh, grid. Yeah.
Grid. I think that's coming with what I mentioned as what we call grid autoflow. So that is next on the CSS Grid roadmap. It's being worked on already. So it's not just being worked on, it already works behind a flag. So that is trying to figure out ways to avoid the word soon. But
in the future,
it's pretty encouraging to have seen it already working. It's a matter of getting all our ducks in a row. Before making it go live.
Okay, cool. Vlad, what lies at the bottom of the ocean and twitches? What?
I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna have to wait for that answer in the chat room. Lol. And my real question is, I think a really powerful tool that promotes engagement with users is conditional logic, and he plans on support for this for forms. Ooh, yeah, conditional forms.
Yeah, good question. You can already do conditional visibility in forms on a collection. A nervous wreck. All right. What do you call someone with no body and no nose?
What?
Nobody knows.
Thank you for that. Okay.
Yeah. So you can already do conditional visibility of form fields on a collection detail page because it has like this dynamic context to the current blog page.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know what Noah means with like conditional logic and forms. It's not on our immediate roadmap, but I think we're going to be moving closer and closer to something like typeform capability over.
Ooh.
So, but right now it's there's no estimate on when we're going to start working on it.
Yep. Yep. All right. Next one from Brandon. Do you have a plan to add different levels of access to the collaborators? For example, a client would like user to access only a certain page and or CMS collection to update menu items or other variables. Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting to see a lot more requests for this. It's basically ACLs, like advanced kind of controls over who has access to what.
Yeah.
So that is near the top of our priorities for our CMS. I just don't know when exactly we're going to start working on it, but it's definitely like it's a must-have at some point, especially as we get into larger and larger projects. Like it's pretty hard right now to, for example, run a newspaper with Webflow because all collaborators have access to everything instead of like certain sections or certain parts of the site.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's right now we're kind of starting with the trust everyone model. Like if you give someone access, you kind of trust them to publish your site and edit stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously, we have to move towards a more granular permissioning model.
Yeah. All right. Chris, now that Pagination is launched, will we see faceted search in 2019?
Um, I don't know. It would initially be part of our e-commerce product if we go in that direction. We haven't seen much of a pickup, honestly, in our page search, in our like initial version of search.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to understand how much of a like whether this is more of a fringe use case or because you have like huge sites like Amazon
Yeah.
and Newegg or whatever that have faceted search.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to understand like what kind of value it brings, like at what scale of products does it start to make sense versus like sort of more basic search. So I don't know if it's something that we'll be getting to in 2019, and it highly depends on what our customers say and what demand looks like.
Okay. All right. Here we go from Mario. Webflow e-commerce sell digital product. Will you create a one-click upsell feature with conditional logic and order bump? Not sure what an order bump is.
I'm not seeing where you are seeing this question. Can you read?
Maybe you have to refresh or something.
I don't know.
Um,
Can you reread the question?
okay. For Webflow e-commerce, will you create a one-click upsell feature with conditional logic? One-click upsell. Not sure.
Upsell feature. I'm not sure. I don't know
Yeah.
how to answer that question.
Sorry, Mario. Um, from YouTube, Bodhi is asking, what about a native audio element for the music websites of the world? SoundCloud is awful. Oh, yeah.
I know we already support kind of like through dynamic embeds, SoundCloud embeds. They're not like super native, but you can make it work.
Yeah.
I think at some point, especially that's one of the use cases for our plugin ecosystem that it makes it much easier to create components like this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but to make this really useful, we'd have to update our CMS to also take audio files as a type of field. So I don't know when we get to this. It definitely depends on customer demand. So like
Yeah.
I think I'm sounding like a broken record at this point, but
Yeah.
go to the wish list and make a case and
Yeah.
like try to get more people to upload it because we do. It's not the exclusive place we sort of look for product ideas, but it's a pretty significant signal when we start to decide when to build a specific feature or whether to build a team around specific functionality.
Yeah. All right. Wishlist.webflow.com. Here we go. Tracy from YouTube. When will I be able to edit on iPad? Ooh.
Good
Yeah.
question. I don't know. I don't know. We haven't heard much demand for that. Um, but now with the new iPad Pro, it's even more powerful.
Yeah.
So we might have to do some testing around it to see what we're missing. It might actually not be that much. It might be just a matter of treating pointer events differently. So
Hmm.
especially with like an Apple Pencil,
I mean,
I
you can
I
put
don't know.
Chrome. Yeah, you can put Chrome inside of iPad because I've seen someone come to my one of my meetups with a Microsoft Surface Pro,
Hmm.
and
Well,
it
yeah,
worked.
it's more of like a just a like it just has a browser.
Hmm.
But the way that Microsoft Surface treats touch events is a little different than
Oh.
I'm not sure.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you, Tracy. Aviv, will other payment service providers other than Stripe be implemented?
Yes.
Uh, the
We're gonna
Israeli Webflow community needs it badly.
which one?
Israeli.
Oh, got it. I think PayPal's first on the list, and then we'll see after that. I'm not sure if PayPal's supported in Israel.
Okay. All right. Um, let's take a couple more. Anthony's asking, will we be able to integrate file upload with a product for e-commerce, say for companies that offer customized products that require a visitor to upload a photo with a product? Oh, kind of like I don't know what is it called, like Cafe Press, or put it on a mug or something. Put a photo of your kid on a mug, or
Oh,
uh,
interesting.
hmm,
At some point, potentially. Yeah, it's
that would be
definitely
cool.
something that we'll look at.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't think we have any immediate plans to work on that. It's kind of like a more fringe use case,
Okay. Uh, any plans to add a counter element directly in Webflow from Merit? Counter?
like a page counter
Maybe? Need
or
more details on that. Like a what?
like a kitchen counter.
I'm not going to count that as a dad joke.
Uh,
No. No. Sorry. I can't count that one.
yeah.
That was too much of a stretch. All right. From Donald, three upvotes. Possibility to turn off by default. The editor can edit this element. Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Like flip the,
Yeah.
we had that as the default before, and it was like everyone wrote in to figure out how do I get my client to edit this heading, and you have to go click on each one. And adding any sort of non-defaults is something that we haven't like dipped our toe into too much. Where you have sometimes it seems straightforward to just say like, oh, well, just make it an option, right? But anytime you make it an option, it just makes everything more complicated. It makes the code more complicated. It makes our education more complicated. It makes like all the stuff we write in our docs more complicated, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So no plans right now, but we do know that the current default is much better than the old default,
Yeah.
where we kind of default to editing more, and then you can sort of like turn certain things off, versus you have to like explicitly decide, okay, this is editable.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Donald. All right. Here we go. Uh oh. I think my neighbor is about to do the line. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta close my window. I can hear the lawnmower. Jeez.
That's fun.
Okay. I think that's better. Sorry about that.
Oh,
All right.
I didn't hear anything.
Huh?
I didn't hear anything.
Okay, good, good. I just want to make sure. All right, let's get the last three questions. Here we go. Um, from Will. Large numbers of individuals and agencies are starting to offer Webflow sites to their clients. Yay! In some cases, there are agencies which now solely focus on Webflow. I
We
think
call
that's
those the best agencies in the world, by the way.
not biased at all.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome and a reflection of how good your product is. But it does mean there is an insane amount of trust being placed in the Webflow team and business. What assurances can you give the community around plans for pricing, general continued availability of features, and the product itself, etc.?
Good question. I think there's a version of this question every single stream. Uh, Although it has become less and less frequent as Webflow has gotten more mainstream. thankfully.
Yeah.
But Webflow's here for the long haul. Like we have so many more plans for what we want to build, and specifically to allow people, individuals or agencies, but primarily individuals that want to become agencies that don't have access to a developer or a bunch of like design resources or whatever, to be able to run their entire web agency from like it's a web agency in a box. Like everything that you might need from thinking up an idea to collaborating on it to designing it to building it to launching it to collaborating with clients to billing your clients to processing orders to eventually like looking at statistics and managing your customers and having like user accounts and creating entire applications. Who knows? There's so much more kind of like room to run with in terms of democratizing more and more of what people can do with software and putting it into people's hands that don't necessarily have this desire to go, learn to become a professional programmer. And for us, that means it's like a 10, 20-year roadmap to get there, right? And in order to get there, we have to play it safe in how we treat our business and not over leverage to the point where we risk at all our company going under or being pressured to like sell to somebody like Adobe, which we've although you should see my I made this recording. Actually, I'll show you later, Nelson. There was a little Easter egg in one of my videos on Twitter where there's like a little secret plan to purchase Adobe at some point. Um, but so
Someone's gonna clip that and
yeah,
then use it out of context.
right. Um, So all that to say is that we have built the company in a way that is fundamentally structurally sound and financially like default alive, where we only hire people when we get more revenue. We look at features that lead to more sustainable growth versus just like flashy things that look like you know they might get good engagement on social or whatever, or it might score us points with like certain audiences. Um, so we're here to make sure that not only to support the businesses that are already running on Webflow, but to empower like the tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, new businesses in the future and new freelancers to build a career, build a living off of the software that they create for other people. And for us, that long-term goal is so much more exciting than trying to get some like short-term financial payoff or some short-term kind of like optimization on revenue or whatever. We always want to make sure our pricing is fair so that when we are creating features and providing value to our user base, that it's a fair exchange between what our team has to do to support that product, what our team has to do to like improve that product over time. Has to feel like we are we have the same incentives, right? You want, as our customers, as agencies, you want the product to improve. You want us to keep pace and sometimes stay ahead of the curve when it comes to new web technologies like Flexbox and Grid and coming up like CSS shapes and a bunch of stuff around like other CSS features and other HTML and JavaScript features that you might not even be aware of yet. So for us, the community, the product, the customer user base, like it's so important that we actually made it our number one. We have these things called core behaviors inside of Webflow, and the first one is put the customer first. And we think about our customers in all of our product decisions, all of our pricing decisions, in how we even structure our the operations of our company and how we do financial planning. To make sure that we will never leave our customers in the dust, and that we will do what's right for everybody who puts their trust in Webflow. And the reason we do that is not because like yes, it's good for business. It's also the right thing to do. Like we've seen that it has paid dividends over time. Like the more we've stuck with our customers, the more our customers have stuck with us. And I think when we're setting out to give people a foundation to build their entire web presence, and over time, like a lot more than just a web presence, like entire software applications. That's a big responsibility, and that's one where we want our customers to feel like hey, this company is going to be around for a long time. This company cares about my interests. And it's constantly improving, so that I'm constantly getting new and better tools. Things are getting faster and more streamlined, et cetera. So we're not going anywhere. We are always thinking of different ways to optimize our pricing, of course, because we want to make sure that the value is directly aligned to like how much it costs actually fairly represents the value that it provides. Um, but it's not something where we're just gonna like up and make our prices like enterprise level just because we get a lot of big companies that are willing to pay that much. Sure, there might be like different pricing tiers and different features that we might offer to companies at that scale,
Mm-hmm.
where they need completely different things like single sign-on. Like who needs single sign-on in the agency world, right? But
Yeah.
like big businesses might be able to might be willing to pay more for that. But we always want to make sure that every pricing decision, every product decision thinks about like these individual smaller freelancers and agencies first, because that's what our company is founded on. Like we were a small agency that needed this exact product to power all of our web projects. So I feel like I could probably say another 10 minutes on this, but I'll wrap it up. We're not going anywhere. We love our community. Our community has made us successful. We love our customers. Our customers are the lifeblood of what helps us innovate the product. It has made it possible for us to keep improving the product and keep growing our team without relying on investors. Um, so that is, I guess that's all I'll say about that. I feel
Yeah.
very confident that we can partner up and you don't have to worry about Webflow going anywhere anytime soon.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Um, last question for this quarter's live Q&A with Vlad. Here we go. From Florian, what do you get when you mix a sheep and a kangaroo? And he already put the answer, but don't look at it.
Let's see. A curly boxer, curly jumper,
A woolly jumper.
oh, woolly jumper. Nice. That's a that's a woolly bad one.
I like that one. I like that one. And hold on, let me. Oh, good job, good job. Let me see if I can change the camera. Let's see here, camera. Oh, I can't. I guess I'll just turn it to what I'm seeing right now. So, congratulations, Vlad. I don't know if can you see this? Can you see my screen?
Uh, I see this is serious business or something.
Yeah, this is serious business. It's a cultural delicacy to experience a Vlad joke in the wild. Us at the DJA are tracking these instances for research, and we need your help. So we've been
What?
tracking your dad jokes.
Are you kidding me? Nice.
So congratulations, you have 10. Thank you to Riley. He's the actual one who actually created that for this stream.
That's impressive. You're
So
awesome, Riley.
oh, this has been fun. A lot of great information, a lot of great questions from the community. And like Vlad said, we love the community so much, and that's why we enjoy doing these live Q&As. If you didn't get your question answered, please go ahead and post it on the forums, and maybe Vlad can go ahead and stop by and answer some lingering questions that haven't been answered yet. But yeah, anything else you want to say to the community before I let you go?
Whew. Y'all are really awesome. I don't know where we'd be without this community. I mean, Nelson, you are kind of the embodiment of that.
Hmm.
You, I, I wish we had it. Like, imagine a world made of Nelsons.
What? No, that's weird. No.
We would solve world peace. Yeah, it would be kind of weird. Like, especially if the sweater situation was pretty uniform across that everyone like that. But this community, like honestly, what would we be without this community? So much of our Webflow's growth comes from people telling other people about Webflow, teaching other people how to use Webflow, how to be successful with it. Um, it's a Honestly, it sometimes brings like a tear to my eye to think about how unfair it is that we get to benefit from something like that, where people are genuinely supportive of each other, that helps support our product, that we get paid for. But people in the community are so supportive of each other to help each other learn it, to become successful, to make a living, etc. And how much people are willing to share their skills and their knowledge, and even jumping into like really complicated problems that are like I see on the forum all the time, and to help other people out. That's just the embodiment of one of our other core values, which is practicing extraordinary kindness. And seeing that reflected in our community just inspires our team to just put that into our product, put that back into our community, put that into our support team. Um, and I'm just really proud of what we've been able to accomplish together, and it's in a huge part because this community rallied around our product and around the ecosystem, to make it real. And I think without that community, it would be really really hard to stay motivated to work on such a highly technical and um, complicated, and sometimes honestly very intimidating technical product, where it just feels like, hey, maybe we can't do this, but then we see the energy that the community brings, and it just blows that away,
Right.
and it keeps us going. Of course, sometimes you need breaks, but being inspired by the community every day is really awesome. So I want to thank you all for being a part of it, and especially you, Nelson, for just being the shepherd of this awesome community, which you were even before you joined the team, which is really
Yes.
great.
And a lot
So
of other people in the team.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess happy holidays, whoever has holidays coming up.
Yep.
I know different people celebrate different things, but hopefully get a little bit of a break in the end of this year and start 2019 off strong.
Yeah, you too. You take a break, enjoy your family, and thank you so much for everything you've done for the community, internally and externally. Thank you. And we'll see you next quarter.
All right,
All right. See
see
ya.
ya.
All right. Um, t- I'll talk to you later, Vlad. Okay, cool. He's offline. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here for the last Q&A session with Vlad. That was a lot of information. 10 Vlad jokes. That's awesome. And yeah, thank you, community, Webflow community. You are all awesome. Each and every one of you who use the platform. Tell us what you want for us to put into the platform, what we need to fix, what we could do better. Like, we love the feedback, positive and negative. We need it because we want to grow with you. This is the community is what helps grow Webflow, like Vlad said. So thank you so much. All right, let's end this off. Here we go. If you need any account, billing, or technical help, please go to university.webflow.com/contact. Fill out that form, and I and the rest of the customer success team will help you out as soon as we can. Join our wonderful community if you haven't already over at forum.webflow.com. If you have a design or custom code question, post that there. Post it there, and the community will genuinely help you out. And do me a favor, if your question gets answered, pass that favor forward and answer someone else's question so we can all grow together. And that's how we've been doing it for these past 5 years on the forums. And let's just continue that favor passing forward. You can, the stream happens every other Tuesday. We're not going to be here for holiday break, so we'll see you next year. But they usually happen Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Social media, twitter.com/webflow. You can follow me at the Pixel Geek. You can follow Vlad at Call Me Vlad. Instagram.com/webflow app. Facebook.com/webflow. YouTube.com/webflow. Anything else? I think that's about it. Thank you for the wonderful 2018. A lot of things have happened, and as you heard from Vlad, a lot of things in the near future, not soon, in the near future, are going to happen to the product, and we'll see where it goes from there. Thank you all so much. And as always, for the rest of 2018 and beyond, make the web beautiful. See ya.